Okay, we started recording. I share my screen. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to my third session, the nutrition webinars held by Westgate Health. My name is Alice. I'm one of the dietitians from Holistic Dietetics. I'm also the dietitian work at the Westgate Health. So if you did attend my previous two sessions, welcome to my third session. If you didn't, and you're interested to find out what I have been talking about in the first two sessions, we do have recordings on the Westgate Health website. Feel free to find that out. So today we're gonna talk about how to make sense of our food labels. Hopefully you already have some packaged food with you. Can be a tuna can be like packaged milk, can be like biscuits, whatever food is with you. So you can have a look of the package of the food that you usually eat every day. Okay, so as usual, I would like to begin by the acknowledgement of country. So I would like to acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. And I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. So as I mentioned, this is our third session. The first two sessions, we talked about what is relatively healthier choice of food and how to make a balanced diet. So today we mainly focus on the packaged food that we buy in the supermarket. So how do we purchase healthier product in the supermarket? How do we compare similar products like light milk or full cream milk? What's the difference out there? And the next session is gonna be our last session. It's about prevention is better than cure. So we're gonna talk about what kind of support we have there for you to eat healthier and live healthier. Okay, so last session, we talked about how to make healthier choice of food, targeting high cholesterol, high blood sugar, and high blood pressure. So as I mentioned, if you didn't attend my first two sessions and you're interested to find out, feel free to check out the Westgate Health website. They do have recordings on YouTube. And our today's topics mainly focused on the products in supermarket. Okay, so the food package is actually the instruction book of the food. Before we actually purchase that food and start to eat that food, that's probably the best way we can find out what is this food look like. I just let someone in. Okay, so before we purchase the food, we can have a good read of the labels and what's on it. Some of them may be like marketing things, but I will introduce how to read the important information on the package. So definitely we want to choose a relatively healthier product out there. So understanding how to read nutrition information can help us to make healthy choices that are lower in energy, lower in saturated fat and trans fat, lower in sugar, lower in sodium or salt, and higher in dietary fiber. Why is that? I have explored in our last session. So energy mainly because mainly related to our weight management, saturated fat and trans fat mainly related to our cholesterol level, sugar related to our weight and the blood sugar level, sodium, salt mainly linked to our blood pressure, and dietary fiber that's gonna be contributing to good benefits to our blood cholesterol and blood sugar. Okay, so before we start to talk about the food labels, I would like to know how many of you actually do read the food labels before purchasing a packaged food? Do you always try to look at the package and find out what is healthier food there, or you don't really know how to read the labels, or you don't really do that. Yeah, we have a couple of more. Haven't voted yet. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we have 9 people voted here. So 4 people think they always read the labels. Good on you. So after today, you can check, is there something you missed, or are you doing good enough? For those sometimes, yes, I will also introduce you a faster way to read the food labels if you don't have time. For those of you who haven't really started to do that, you can probably try out after today's session. Okay, so by looking at the food in your packaged food in your hand, the first thing I want to introduce is the ingredient list. So the ingredient list, by the sound of it, shows the ingredients, and it actually listed in order of quantity, so from largest to the smallest. For example, I have my canned chickpea here. The first ingredient, of course, is cooked chickpeas, which is 71%. Second one would be olive oil, that's 15%. Third one would be water. So we usually look at the very first 3 ingredients. That's gonna be majority of this food. So I know this can of chickpeas is mainly chickpeas, olive oil, and water. So if a product is high in saturated fat, added salt, or added sugar, which we want to avoid those, these ingredients will be usually at the start of the list. For example, I got my favorite biscuits here. I have my Oreos. So the first ingredient is wheat flour. Second one is sugar. Third one is vegetable oil. So I know these cookies, the Oreos, will be high in sugar and high in fat because sugar and oil are both listed in the first 3 ingredients. So the second one, apart from the ingredient list, I will introduce is called Nutrition Information Panel. So it's the table. Usually at the back of the product is the table of different nutrients listed on it. So the nutrition panel usually lists the most important nutrients. So most of the time we have first one as energy, second one as protein, then we have fats. Under fat, we have saturated fats. Some of the products may have trans fat or unsaturated fats. Then we have carbohydrates. Under carbohydrates, we have sugar. And the last one usually sodium, but sometimes you will find there is like calcium or fiber listed under it. So the panel on each product will help us to compare the nutrition values between them. Okay, so this is our golden standard. To check how much fat, saturated fat, sugar, and salt is in a product, we want you guys to compare the numbers in the average quantity per 100 grams for food or per 100 ml for drinks. Not the per serve one. I'll explain why is that later. So we want to compare the packaged food per 100 grams or per 100 ml. So this one is our guideline. Feel free to screenshot it or take a picture of it or record it in your own way. So with the total fat, we want the food to be less than 3 grams of fat per 100 grams. And with the drinks, we want it to be less than 1.5 grams of fat per 100 grams. So for some of the food, For example, the chickpeas, I know chickpeas they naturally present with some kind of fat, so I will be more tolerable with it. So I wanna compare with 3 to 10 grams of fat per 100 grams. I feel that's still okay. Or if with the drinks, we want to do 1.5 to 5 grams per 100 mils with the fat. So for the saturated fat, we want it to be less than 1.5 grams of saturated fat with the food, and less than 0.75 grams of fat with the drinks. And if you feel you want to be more tolerable with your food, then we can expand our range a little bit to 1.5 to 3 grams of saturated fat and for food, and 0.75 to 1.5 grams of saturated fat for drinks. So with the sugar food, we usually do less than 5 grams per 100 grams, or 5 grams to 15 grams per 100 grams for okay range. With the drinks, I would say sugar would be the most important nutrient to check out with our drinks, because usually the drinks won't present with high fat unless it's milky drinks, but most of the times our drinks will be high in sugar, especially the soft drinks and fruit juice. So with the drinks, we actually want to aim for less than 2.5 grams of sugar within our 100 mils. If you want to be more tolerable, for example, it's like your favorite fruit juice, you may want to aim for 2.5 to 7.55 grams for 100 mils of the drinks. With the sodium or salt, we want it to be less than 120 milligrams for food or drinks. For some food naturally present with salt, like the prawns naturally present with some salt, so we want to aim for a little bit expanded range, which is 120 milligrams to 400 milligrams for that kind of food. Also, last session, I mentioned the importance to have adequate fiber and the benefit to have a good amount of fiber. So we also want to choose foods high in fiber. So when I say high in fiber, we actually aim for 3 grams or more per serve for added benefits. Or if you don't want to check the exact number of the fiber, I will give you a little tip, which is find out whether there is fiber listed under the nutrition information panel. Because Australia and New Zealand food law, they actually make the rules for the factory to put fiber under the nutrition information panel. So they must be more than 2 grams per serve of fiber to be enough to be written on the tables of the nutrition information panel. So if they do write fiber under the nutrition information panel, it means the product itself already contains some amount of fiber there. Okay, so why we aim for per 100 grams or per 100 mils, not per serving? This is why. So this is Tim Tam. I'm pretty sure lots of you really like it. So per serving, so the serving amount is actually determined by the factory. So it can be biased. For example, with this Tim Tam, they say per 1 serving of Tim Tam is only 1 biscuit, which means every time you eat the Tim Tam, you will only eat 1 biscuit. I don't know what, can you stop with 1 biscuit, but I can't. So I wouldn't say for me, Tim Tam is 1 serving with 1 biscuit. For me, it's probably like 5-6 biscuits for 1 serving. But if you do 1 serving with 1 biscuit, good on you. So that's why we don't want to look at the per serving column because it can be quite biased. We want to look at the per 100 grams or per 100 meals, which is more objective and can't be biased because it can't lie on it. So when we look at this Tim Tam's nutrition information panel, well, we will find out the energy 2,180 kilojoules per 100 grams. Our guidelines, we don't have guidelines for energy, but if we look at the fat, is 26.9 grams of fat per 100 grams. Compared to our goal here, less than 3 grams, we probably exceed a little bit more than we should. Then with the saturated fat, we still have 15 grams per 100 grams there. Then the guideline is actually less than 1.5 grams. So it's 10 times of the recommended level. Same with the sugar. Although it has little bit fiber there, but it's actually not meeting the requirements. Then the sodium is not really concerning with Tim Tams, but with the Tim Tams, we really want to focus on the fat and sugar readings. The other way we can find out why Tim Tam is not so healthy is check the ingredient list. So we can see here, the first ingredient we have with Tim Tam is milk chocolate. So they're quite tricky because they put milk chocolate and we don't know what is in the milk chocolate. So we read the ingredients of the milk chocolate. We find out the first ingredient of milk chocolate is sugar. After milk chocolate, we have wheat flour. Then the third one, we got sugar again. So apart from the milk chocolate, they add extra sugar on that. Then after the sugar and the maple syrup, after sugar and the vegetable oil, we have the golden syrup. So golden syrup is also another form of sugar, which is quite tricky as well because we don't know it's how much sugar in that syrup, but I will assume syrup is majority of sugar. So is there another way to say is sugar inside it? So apart from sugar, we can check out how much fat is in Tim Tam. So within the milk chocolate, we have second largest ingredient of milk solids. So milk solids actually high in saturated fat, if you do know what milk solids is. Then we have cacao butter, which is high in fat as well. Then after that, we have vegetable oil again with the milk chocolate. After the milk chocolate, we have vegetable oil again. So we actually have 4 different ingredients in Tim Tam saying it's actually containing a lot of fat in the biscuits. Thanks for those asked questions in the chat. I will answer your question after we finish the session. So I do have 15 minutes of the questioning time at the end of the session. So if you do want to know some of the healthier options of the biscuits, these are the 2 we would usually recommend it with high fibers and low sugar. So Vita Wheats with 9 grams in it, or Rivita multigrain. So the next one would be talking about the milk. So I would like to know how many of you actually buy the low-fat milk, or are you buying the full cream milk, or are you going for the skim milk, or you don't really drink milk, you use milk alternative, soy milk, oats, almonds, rice milk, or you don't really drink milk? Okay, I'll give you 10 more minutes. Sorry, 10 more seconds. Yeah. Okay, time's up. So it's because it's quite evenly spread out. One of you drink whole milk, two of you drink light milk, one of you drink skim milk, one of you drink soy milk, four of you actually drinks oats, almond, rice milk, and one of you don't drink milk. If you don't drink milk, I hope you have find some dairy alternatives for your calcium intake. Can be cheese, can be yogurt. For those who drink oats, almonds, rice milk, please check your nutrition information panel whether there's calcium in your milk, because some of the oats, almond or rice milk, they're not fortified with calcium, so they cannot actually replace your milk intake. So they do have the fortified version there with oats, almond, or rice milk, also with the soy milk. So please find out whether your soy milk or oats, almond, rice milk are fortified with calcium. For those choose skim milk, really good. Light, also good option. And if you drink whole cream milk, it's also okay. It's also really good for your calcium intake. But if you do want to control your weight, or you do want to do something for your cholesterol, I would still recommend you to go for the light option. So for the saying of that, what is the exact difference between full cream milk, light milk, and skim milk? First of all, we want to check the energy. So with the whole cream milk, we have 600, nearly 700 of nearly 700 kilojoules of the energy per serving. And with the per 100 mils, we have 270 kilojoules per 100 mils. But if we check the one with the light milk, it's actually nearly half of the energy compared to the full cream milk. And with the skim milk, it's actually less. Next thing we want to check is our fats. So the biggest difference between full cream milk, light milk, and skim milk would be the fat content. So we see full cream milk, we have 3.5 grams of total fat per 100 mils. And with the light milk, we have less than half of the fat. And with the skim milk, it actually doesn't have much fat in it. And with the saturated fat, we can see with the full cream milk, we still have a little bit of saturated fat there. With the light milk, they remove the most of the saturated fat in the light milk, and most of the fat with the skim milk as well. So I do have clients, they actually quite concerned about the sugar level within light milk and skim milk. I don't know whether you have heard about the saying of actually light milk and skim milk contains more sugar compared to the full cream milk, which is, I would say, slightly true, because it's actually, it is higher, but it's actually not higher, not exceeding a lot. So with the light milk, we have 4.8 grams of sugar per 100 mils compared to 4.7 grams of sugar per 100 mils in full cream milk. And with the skim milk, we have 0.1 gram of sugar more per 100 mils. If you think about how they make light milk or skim milk, they actually remove the fat part within that milk, which means everything else in that milk will be more condensed, more concentrated. That's why the sugar actually increased a little bit in light milk and skim milk. But at the same time, we can find out the protein level of the light milk and skim milk increase a little bit as well, which is the good part. So as a dietitian, we would still recommend you to go for the light milk if you can. Even with the soy milk, I will also recommend you to go for the light soy milk. With the skim milk, it's if you can, that will be perfect. If you can't, you can go for the light milk. So it doesn't matter that much. With the Greek yogurt, we have normal version and light version here. Similar to the milk, we have reduced saturated fat and reduced fat in our light version. With the total fat, it's actually less than half of the content with the fat. Then with the saturated fat, we also have less than half in the light version. And the sugar, same thing, also increased a little bit, but the protein content also increased a little bit because both protein and sugar, they become more concentrated after they remove the fat part. Okay, so butter and margarine. So with the butter, we can see actually out of 100 grams of butter, we have nearly 70 grams of butter, 70 grams of fat in 100 grams of butter. So it's 70% of butter is actually the fat. Within that 70 grams of butter, we have 28 grams of saturated fat, which is really high. But if we choose margarine, we have a little bit less total fat there. We have 63 grams of total fat within 100 grams of margarine. However, we do have much less saturated fat in margarine. It only has 16.5 grams of saturated fat within margarine. Apart from that, we do have some good fat there. So I mentioned unsaturated fat, they are actually good fat that we should consume some daily. So the margarine do have 26.5 grams of polyunsaturated fat within 100 grams and 15.7 grams of monounsaturated fat. So trans fat there. So I want to mention trans fat here. So as I mentioned last session, trans fat is actually the worst type of fat because it produced during the human artificial processing. So we want to avoid trans fat as much as possible. However, trans fat is actually not compulsory to be listed on the nutritional information panel. So only those products which has minimal trans fat, they will list the trans fat on their product on their nutrition information panel because they want to show how healthy is their product. They have zero trans fat. With something like butter or I say bacon, salami, they usually high in trans fat, but you won't read the trans fat on their nutrition information panel because they don't want to show you how bad, how unhealthy their product is. So trans fat can be a really tricky one. Every time you find trans fat is there, it's usually on the relatively healthier product. Okay, so the last one is about sodium. So we do want to aim for less than 120 milligrams per 100 grams of sodium for the product. If we choose no added salt one, we will have much less sodium in the product. If you can't endure the no added salt one, you may want to try the less salt one. So Australia and New Zealand food laws, they make the rules. If you want to say your product is reduced salt, it must be less than 25% less of the sodium content of similar product. So if you want to buy like reduced salt version of corn kernels, they must be 25% of reduction of the salt content. Okay, so apart from the ingredient list and the nutrition information panel, we do have some quick tips here. If you don't have time, you only have 10 minutes for you to go grocery today, you may want to check the health star ratings. It's usually on the front pack of the food labels. For example, I have my chickpeas here, and here is the health stars. So it's 4.5 health stars of the chickpeas. You may want to check whether there is the health star on your food. So it helps the customers to make healthier choices at a glance, which is easy and convenient. The system rates the overall nutritional values of foods and assigns foods a rating from 0.5 star, which is the lowest star, to 5 stars. Generally, the more stars there, the healthier the choice is. So the chickpea is 4.5 star, which is not too bad, but I would recommend you to go for the ingredient list and the nutrition information panel first, because sometimes the health star can be quite biased as well. For example, I have this liquid breakfast here, which is a similar product to Tim Tam. I thought it was quite healthy because it has 5 stars on it. But I'll read out the ingredient list for you. The first ingredient of this product is water. Second ingredient is sunflower oil. The third ingredient is sweetener blend. So they put oil as their second ingredient, which means this product is actually high in vegetable oil. But why does this product only already have 5 health stars? It's because they put a lot of water in it. So they actually dilute the value of value of sugar and fat there, which makes them look quite healthy, but they actually not really. The healthy part of this product is actually the water. So that's why I would always recommend you to go for the nutrition information panel and the ingredient list, because they can't lie on it. If your product doesn't have the healthy star ratings there, here is an app I would recommend you to download. It's called Food Switch. So Food Switch is a smartphone app that allows you to scan the barcode of a packaged food. So it helps you to understand the information and allows you to get an immediate health start in the app usually. So I had Food Switch in my phone. After I open the app, it's becoming a scan. So I find the barcode of the food and I have scanned. I just use my camera towards the barcode. Some of the food doesn't have the information in the system because they are still developing it. Some of them may have the information. So check it out. If you do have this app with your phone, check it out with your food there. So none of my products has information on it. But if you do that in the supermarket when you do the grocery, it may help you a little bit when you try to buy a healthier food. So after you scan your food, it will generally show the information on your screen. Usually it will be green, red, and yellow. So green means it's good, it's meeting the requirements. Yellow means it's okay, maybe not so good, and red means it's actually higher than the recommended level. And the good part I love about this app is actually they actually suggest you several alternatives, and it's actually healthier alternatives for you to purchase compared to the one you scanned. Okay, so this is about our session today. We talk about making healthy choice last session, and this session we talk about the healthy products. Then we mainly focus on the food labels, and we talk about the health star ratings. With the food switch, it's really up to you whether you want to use that or not, because they don't have a huge range of the products information. So it really depends on a little bit luck, whether you can find out the information in the app. Okay, so if you do want to talk to a dietitian at Westgate Health, which is me, you can always do bulk bill with care plan from your GP, or if you don't have care plan or you're not eligible for one, you can always come to me with a small cost for 30 minutes. Or if you have private insurance, you can always make rebates from them. So our next session will be next Wednesday, which is talking about the prevention is better than cure. So we're gonna mainly focus on the diabetes. So how to prevent the diabetes, and we're gonna do a little bit assessment of risk of diabetes there. So I will stop the share screening now, and I can see we do have some questions there. Thanks, Karina. Okay, so I do have a question. When choosing low GI rye bread, then should you be looking for the ingredient list? So it really up to you whether you wanna check out the ingredient, but I will say with the low GI rye bread, I will focus on the fiber content, like whether it has relatively high fiber compared to other bread. Because with the bread, the ingredients of rye bread, they generally not differ that much, but the nutrient will differentiate them is usually the fiber. Do we take notice of percentage daily intake, or is that biased? This is a really good question. So look at my Oreo. The percentage of daily intake is calculated on per serving. So I would say per serving, it will be really biased. My Oreo says if I have one serve my Oreo, it only gives me 7% of energy in a day, which doesn't sound like that much. But if I finish the whole pack, that's gonna be a lot. So I would say if the daily intake is calculated on per serving, usually they do, then it's gonna be quite biased. If it's calculated on per 100 grams, which they rarely do that, but if you do find a product, probably from overseas or from other country, if you do find the percentage of daily intake calculated on per 100 grams or per 100 mils, that can be less biased. So they usually use the 8,700 kilojoules for the daily requirement for everyone, which is a general number for adults. But if you are female, which usually is less than that, Or if you do have a sedentary lifestyle, it will be less than that as well. So I will say um, it will be a little bit biased, I would say. Yeah. Okay, does anyone else have any question there? Everyone had a good read of your labels? Does anyone want to share what food they have and what information they get out of from their labels? You can turn on your microphone. Vicky, do you want to share yours? I can see you keep checking with your package when I'm going through my webinars. Yeah. What did you learn from your, is that a canned tomato? Sugar-free chocolate? Yeah. Do you find it's healthy? Yeah.
Yeah, I try to steer clear of the sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I drink a lot of this though. So
Yeah.
it's got the stevia in it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. How about the other two? What did you learn about that? The coconut water?
Yeah, that's got nothing in it.
That's great.
And the tomatoes, they're okay. Yeah, they're okay.
Yeah, the sodium level is okay.
Yeah, I don't add salt when I cook, so it probably
Okay,
balances out.
cool. Thank you for sharing. David, you still love your Tim Tams.
Can't live without my Tim Tams.
Yeah, as long as you are aware of how many Tim Tams you have, not like unconsciously eating, and you know it's not good for your health. And yeah, if you decide to reward yourself for your day of hard working, maybe you want to have like one or two of your Tim Tam.
Unfortunately, I have a few more than that.
Then you probably need to be a little bit conscious of that.
How does this rating apply for home brand products? Are they any less healthy, or is it? I don't have home brand products, but yeah.
Yeah. So usually home brand products, they cheaper. So personally, I don't have problems with home brand products because they cheaper because they don't have someone in between takes the cost of the delivery or the marketing things. Or yeah, that's why the home brand is generally cheaper. I wouldn't say it's less healthy, but you probably want to check out by the label readings with individual products. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You may find it's less tasty with the home brands.
Yeah, I could imagine that.
But yeah, it's not always the home brand is less healthy.
Thank you for your session. It's been great tonight.
Yeah, thanks for coming. If there is no further question, I will end the session today. So our last session will be the next Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Feel free to come. And I will stop the recording now.